is 11 o'clock. Good morning. Good morning, dear ones. Good morning. I am very excited that this is Choir Sunday. Do you know how infrequently I get to pick music for Atheist Sunday? What a pleasure. Julian of Norwich was technically a Christian because everybody had to be a Christian back then, but he never wrote songs with the word God in it. So I thought that was great. This quote is, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well." And I know that because of our climate, politically, ecologically, all the things, we don't necessarily feel that way right now. And so that's why we want to sing this song to you. Because in this moment, in this space, right this second, all is well. Unison round. Welcome, you questioners, seekers of truth with a capital T, pilgrims longing for sanctuary, travelers needing harbor from the storm. Welcome, those who are holding on by a thread, determined breakers of the chains of loneliness and isolation. You push through your fear because something told you that you deserve to belong. And you do. Welcome home. Welcome those who braid ropes again and again and again. You've been there for our siblings who were just hanging on. You gave them a hand into community and told them, rest here. Welcome, you who seek spiritual and religious freedom and community for your children and your grandchildren. You entrust your young people here, and we as a community commit to nurturing and respecting them. Welcome, children and youth. You give us the gift of your wisdom, your joy, your curiosity, and your trust that we will hold it all safe. And we will. Welcome home. How do we make this tender place wider? How do we stretch into a bolder welcome? a radical generosity of the heart. Can we imagine ourselves, the stewards and ushers, not only into this space, but into our circle of belonging? Can we commit and recommit and recommit and recommit to being accountable to one another as anti-racist, anti-oppressive community that centers marginalized voices, that listens to those voices, especially when they are saying things that are hard to hear? When we break our agreements with one another, when we err, can we offer amends? Can we be humble and generous? Yes, there is enough grace here. There is in this place the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right within ourselves, between us, and in the wider world. There is in this place possibility. Welcome home. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Fayetteville. My name is Reverend Renee, and I am your minister. Unitarian Universalism is a tradition open to all people, whether religious or non-religious. We UUs have 7 core values at the heart of our beliefs: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, and love, which is the most important, and it is at the center of everything that we UUs do. We respect our connection to each other, to all of life, and to the precious universe of which we are a part. We welcome you, whoever you are at this moment, and wherever you are in your spiritual journey. To those of you joining us online, welcome. If you are new, please check out our website, uufayetteville.org, for more information. For those of you visiting us for the first time in person, you will find a white visitor information card in the seat back in front of you. We would straight up love, and if you need one of those, the ushers will help with that. We want you to fill that out so that we can get to know you better. We just want to not spam you, cross my heart, promise you we will not spam you. We will send you an email a week that Fawn lovingly curates so that you'll know what's going on within our congregation. When it's time for the joys and concerns, there are these yellow cards in the seat back in front of you. You can fill those out at any time, and you can bring them up and give them to me and drop a stone. There's a place to indicate on the joys and concerns card if you want it read aloud or not. That's important if you don't want it read aloud. Facebook beloveds, you may write your joys and concerns and milestones into the chat. And they can't be kept confidential, but you can always email us at the church if you have a confidential joy, concern, or milestone that you would like shared. If you have a need for hearing assistance, our AV tech David will help you with that. Children are 100,000% always welcome in our service, and there's a staffed nursery downstairs if you prefer. Please remember to silence your cell phones because it won't be in tune with the first hymn. And I am so excited about today's service. One of my favorite folks that comes to be with us is Dr. Doug Krueger, and I think he's a beast in the pulpit and love it when you speak. So much, so much. But before that, Mariah and Peter, would you please light our chalice today? These are some of our new members. darlings. Aren't they wonderful? Yes, yes, yes.
Good morning, everyone. Please join us in lighting our chalice. Love
is the spirit of this
community, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and truth, and to help one another. Thus do we covenant together.
Folks, we are so fortunate to be here among good people with good hearts and open minds in a welcoming space, a space of love and hope, in a world where spaces like this, with accepting, loving, caring people, may sometimes seem as wonderful and rich, but sometimes as mythical as the Shire of the Hobbits. And it's good to be here so we can replenish our hope, replenish our reserves, and enjoy all the rewards of good fellowship.
For our opening hymn today, which is number 398, these lyrics are incredible. They are from the poet William Blake. The tune is from the composer, arranged by the composer Edvard Grieg. Check this out. To see the world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Rise as you are able, and let's sing this together. I'm asking Brenda to please play the entire hymn through once so that you can hear Grieg's beautiful arrangement. Thank you, Ray. We used to do In religious community, in this community, we share our joys and our triumphs, our sorrows and our broken places, and meaningful moments in our lives, because love is what connects us. And love is made up of many different feelings and events. In this circle of care, we make space for the complexity of life, the myriad experiences that bless and break our hearts. The truth of human experience dictates that on any given day, we come to the table with hearts in different places. We love through interaction. And it's in our interactions that we come to know the world and our place in it. Our interactions and our gathering is very important when we gather, and love is at the center of that gathering. And when the outcome of our gathering is joy and togetherness, it's a fierce form of resistance. Our very being here today is a fierce form of resistance, and we need it right now. We Unitarian Universalists believe that it is in the gathering and in the brave task of sharing ourselves that creates and grows trust and connection in the world. That this is how we come not only to marvel at, but to engage in the depth and movement of the spirit of life, of the human experience, of the interconnection of which we are all just but a little tiny part. And so we must create the space. We're doing it now. If you have filled out a yellow joys or concerns card and and you would like to come up, please, and while Brenda is playing beautiful music, you may also drop a stone. Jean will be holding the stones, and drop a stone in the bowl of water. You do not have to have a yellow joys or concerns card to come up and drop a stone. You may simply just be a part of this ritual with all of us today. Brenda. Salem shares. I don't know the symbolism or the meaning behind the stones in the water. What a great question. Unitarian Universalists have been dropping stones in water since the 1950s. What they say is, and almost every Unitarian Universalist congregation does this. Sometimes people alternate between lighting candles and dropping stones, but you use drop stones. And one of the reasons is because when we drop a stone into the water, the idea is that the ripples connect us. They connect us to each other, and they connect the wider UU circle, our congregation, to other congregations. And I have heard from some of you that it is your favorite part of the service. And that's Matt's favorite part. I have watched and heard people being very, very, very specific about what stones they pick out. Like the yellow and the blue one. Yes. So, yes, this goes back a long time. This dropping of stones goes back a long, long time. And one of the youth came up to me not too long ago and said, I went walking at the park by the creek and I dropped some stones in the water and it felt so good. And I was like, oh my God. We mean something. This means something to people. Jean, let's drop some stones for the joys and concerns that we couldn't share today. I have some that I couldn't share. I know a lot of us have things in our hearts that we couldn't share. And let's go ahead and, it's a big week coming up. Let's go ahead and drop a few more for the joys and concerns and perhaps milestones that we will experience in the coming week before we are together again. Thanks, Jean. So we are going to take 60 whole seconds of silence. Try to be comfortable in the silence. Allow your mind to be quiet. Quiet mind. Take a breath with me. stand out. I told you it wouldn't be a tunic. Quiet minds. Take a breath together again. Darling ones, we have a lot of work to do. And I'm afraid there is going to be quite a bit more to do before we get to rest. I want to thank you for your financial contribution to this fellowship. Each year, our congregation gives a portion of our money to the larger governing body of the UU congregations called the UUA. The UUA is doing incredibly important work to see to the safety and security of people in marginalized communities, and we are lucky to be a part of this organization. One of the things they're doing is bringing a lawsuit against ICE, and I'm proud of us. We at UUFF also hope to bring safety and security to our local folks that are suffering because of fascism and hate crimes perpetrated by our very own government. It will take all of us to do what we can. We put our backs into it. We put our hearts into it. And we put our wallets into it. When you give to UUFF, your money is used for good. Ushers, would you now take up the offering? Brenda, would you offer us some music? Yeah.
Okay. Well, folks, let's see if this works. I believe it does. Yes, here we go. There we go. Okay. Well, folks, I'm here this morning to talk to you about a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I have been talking about atheism for quite some time in all kinds of different venues, and in fact, that title, What is Atheism? By an incredible coincidence, is also the title of a book I wrote about atheism that came out back in 1998, available wherever fine books are sold, and some out in the front here of the in the lobby. But I wrote the book because a lot of people were asking me about atheism when I did a debate on the topic, and they wanted to know if I had a book I could recommend, and there weren't any good introductory books to atheism that were written by atheists. There were plenty that were written by Christians, but there weren't any written by atheists that were introductory type books, so I wrote one. And so let's talk about atheism. If it's atheism, then one might wonder, okay, well, what is the theism part of it? Well, we can, for our purposes, just define theism as the view that at least one God exists. Now, many theists would want to say at most one exists too, that in other words, there's exactly one, but whether you believe there's one or many, if you believe there's at least one deity, then you are a theist. Okay, so if that's what theism is, what is atheism? It's not as easy to define as you might think. We could spend a great deal of time trying to hash out exactly what it is, but we'll try to keep it simple for our purposes. Atheism, let's say, is just the lack of theistic belief. Okay? If you don't agree with the theist that at least one God exists, then you are technically an atheist. Okay? From the Greek atheos, meaning without God or godless, without theos, God or gods. And so an atheist is simply one who doesn't agree with the theist. The theist says there's at least one God. The atheist says, no, I cannot agree with you on that. Right. Okay. The Greek philosopher Socrates, believe it or not, was falsely accused of being an atheist. So the term in various languages goes back millennia, right? Thousands of years. Probably as long as there has been theism, there have been atheists, right? The first use in English of this word, according to the dictionary, was 1546. Okay, so atheism, the lack of theistic belief. Well, that was a short presentation, wasn't it? We're all done, aren't we? No, it's not that simple, as I mentioned. Because, oh, by the way, last week, Jean Vincent did a presentation on humanism. Atheism is a subset of humanism. So, there are different types of atheism. Right? How? What? You might be thinking, how can there be different types? Well, you know, there's different ways that one might disagree with the theist, okay? And depending on which way or why you disagree with the theist, those are different types of atheism. So let's take a look at some of these types. First, there's strong atheism, the belief that theism is false, the belief that no gods exist, not even one, okay? So, if theism is false, then obviously you don't want to agree with it. That's one way to disagree with the theist, right? It's, oh, your statement is false. I'm not agreeing with you. Okay, that's strong atheism. Also sometimes called positive atheism or hard atheism. Okay, this is the type of atheism that most people think of when they hear the term atheist. And sometimes I'll tell people, oh, I'm an atheist. Sometimes that's because I wear my friendly neighborhood atheist t-shirt. And yeah, people say, hey, well, are you an atheist? You're not really an atheist, are you? Yeah. And so anyway, a great conversation starter. Yeah. And So that's what people tend to think of when they think of atheism, but there's also weak atheism, the belief that one cannot know whether God exists. Okay? And obviously, if you think that people can't know whether God exists, then you should refrain from agreeing that at least when God exists, right? If you say, well, we can't know that, that's a type of atheism, right? This is weak atheism, also called sometimes negative atheism or soft atheism, okay? So the term atheism can mean you believe there's no gods, or you say, I don't know if there are any gods. So now have we figured it out? No, it's not that easy. It's not that easy, because something happened that changed, altered the definition of atheism. But before we get to that, let me tell you of one other more obscure way that someone might disagree with the theist, or excuse me, fail to agree with the theist, and that is theological non-cognitivism. A name that just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And theological non-cognitivism is the view that the statement God exists does not have any meaning. Now, this school of thought, it's usually relegated to philosophers. It goes back at least as far as the philosopher David Hume, a Scottish philosopher who died in 1776. And he was the quintessential empiricist who thought that language, when you're talking about things that exist, it's designed to tell you about things that you can detect through your five senses. If you say that this remote exists, okay, it's because that term remote, right, which you're referring to, this thing, that has meaning because you can detect the thing it's talking about through your senses. You can see it or feel it, and et cetera. If you say the word dog, well, you can see dogs or smell them or touch them, and et cetera, hear them. So according to that school of thought, if you can't see it or touch it or smell it or hear it and so forth, if your senses can't detect it, the word has no meaning. So on this view, the phrase God exists has no legitimate use in our language. Okay? The phrase attempts to use language in an unintelligible manner, like having nothingness or time before time or something like that, or just, whatever. It doesn't mean anything, right? And so the theological non-cognitivists disagree with the theist because they say, well, if you're saying something that has no meaning, obviously I can't agree with it, right? So that's yet another way to disagree with the theist, okay? Much more obscure way, but I have met theological non-cognitivists. Sometimes called agnosticism ever since 1964, but that's a very rare use as well. Okay, so here's the thing that changed the meaning of atheism. I know I'm sort of preempting perhaps another talk you might have on the topic of agnosticism, but we do have to touch on this because this has direct relevance to the meaning of atheism. In 1869 over here, this fellow here, Thomas Huxley, invented another word because he said, look, the term atheist can mean, as we just saw, that you believe God doesn't exist. It can also mean you don't know whether God exists. And he says, I'm in the latter category. I don't know whether God exists. And people keep lumping me into the same group as the ones that say God doesn't exist, because the term atheist covered both, right? And he says, I don't want to be mistaken for someone who believes that God doesn't exist. So he came up with the term agnosticism, the belief that one cannot know whether God exists. Okay, and by the way, he was a biologist and anthropologist, and he published this essay, Agnosticism. So once there was a word for what we have been calling weak atheism, right? Once there was another word for it, then ever since then, when people were hearing the term atheism, they understood it to mean primarily strong atheism, the denial of God's existence. And so that's why most people think that's what the word means, okay? So henceforth, after 1869, those who said that God does not exist were called atheists, and those who said that God's existence cannot be known were called agnostics. Okay. So now, have we figured it out? No. Okay, it's not that easy, all right? Why is there another permutation? Well, thank you, Internet. Okay, in very recent times, there are a lot of people, especially, I estimate maybe past 15, 20 years, something like that. I went to an atheist convention in Springfield, Missouri, believe it or not. I've been to many atheist conventions all over the place, and in this one, it was slightly different because most of the attendees were very young, and they were going around saying that they're atheists. And so I engaged them in discussion, and I said, "Tell me, what's your favorite argument for God's non-existence?" You know, things. And they would say, "Well, I don't believe that God doesn't exist. I believe we can't know that." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Aren't you an agnostic?" And they would say, "No, I'm an atheist." And I wondered about that. So it turns out that, and you'll see lots of this online, I'm in lots of atheism forums and so forth, that a lot of young people are starting to move the definition back to the pre-1869 definition of atheism, which covers both belief that God doesn't exist and belief that we can't know whether God exists. And they say that their atheism simply means they don't agree with the theist, that God exists. Okay, so now if someone comes up to you and says, especially if they're young, says, "Hi, I'm an atheist," or whatever, you won't immediately be able to tell, does that mean that they deny that God exists, or are they what has hitherto been called agnostic? And I've asked young people, well, why don't you just use the term agnostic? There's a perfectly good word, and the term atheist has been reviled from the pulpit, not this one, but from the pulpit for millennia, okay? And you can just avoid all of that baggage by using a different term. Why don't you use it? And I didn't get any kind of answer. People were like, I don't know, whatever. And so for years, I was asking people that were using atheism in this way. And finally, I've gotten a few answers, and the answer tends to be that they say, well, we want to reclaim the use of the term atheism. I said, really? Why? I don't know why you would want to do that, making things hard for yourself. But you know what? Go for it. If you want to do that, that's how language is. It shifts according to people's needs and their desires and so forth. So, okay. So, there we go. Common misconceptions about atheism. As you might imagine, since atheism has been disparaged for so long by religious folks, there are a lot of misconceptions, like atheism is a religion, right? This is usually what people say when they're looking for, as they call it, partners in guilt, right? It's like, don't put down religion. You've got one too. It's atheism, right? No, atheism is not a religion. Sometimes atheists like to say, well, atheism is a religion like bald is a hair color. Right? That's not, it's lack thereof, okay? It's not a religion, okay? So some people will even go so far as to say, hey, the Supreme Court said that atheism is a religion. No, that's a misinterpretation of something that happened some years ago. In 2005, there was a court case where a fellow in prison wanted to start an atheist club. And they told him, no, you can't start one. And he said, why not? There's a Christian club, there's a Muslim club, there's a Hindu club. Why can't I have an atheist club? They say, well, because you're not a religion. And so he sued, and the Supreme Court said, well, it's true that atheism is not, strictly speaking, a religion. It doesn't have this supernatural element or belief in deities, and et cetera, et cetera. But they say it is a way of life, a distinct form of a way of life. And they say that's good enough for our purposes, for First Amendment purposes, to say this guy can start his atheist club. And he did. So. Okay, atheists have no morals. Really? Really? No. Atheists have are no more wicked or anything else than anybody else. People link morals and religion so closely in our society that they think if you have one, you have the other, and if you don't have one, you can't have the other. Not so. Not so. There are many non-religious ethical systems in the history of philosophy, and going back all the way to Aristotle. Jeremy Bentham, the founder of utilitarianism, had a view of ethics that requires no deity. Immanuel Kant, he put a deity in there, but it doesn't have to be in there, is the consensus. John Rawls, many others. Most of the major players in the field of ethics today are views that do not have a deity in them, in the field of philosophy called ethics. So just so you know, atheists donate to charities at pretty much the same rate as religious folks. So that's another stigma, that's another stereotype. And speaking of stereotypes, a common stereotype is that atheists are unpleasant, bitter sourpusses, right? That they're just grumpy and mean and, and so forth. In fact, one time in one of my philosophy classes, we were talking about the existence of God. We were in that section of the course, and one of the students asked, are you an atheist? And I said, yes, I am. And this woman in the back of the class said, you can't be an atheist, you're too happy. Yeah, that's what she said. And yeah, no. Atheists can be happy for largely the same reasons that anybody's happy, right? They have good friends, they have good fellowship, they have lots of positive things happening in their lives and so forth. Of course, atheists can be happy, but it's a very powerful, long-standing just way to disparage atheists, to have the stereotype that they're all mean and grumpy. In fact, one day this flyer was left on my door at my house. And it says, spiritual safety tip. What will you do if you, what to do if you find an atheist, okay? And there's supposedly the atheist. And I must admit, I have answered the door in a blue coat, blue robe, with a cup of coffee in my hand, but I didn't on that day that there was a flyer. I don't believe in anything. I'm staying home on Sunday. Well, the atheist in the room, you're evidence. I'm evidence that we don't always stay home on Sunday. So this looks like, this even says, if you find an atheist in your neighborhood, tell a parent or pastor right away. It's like some sort of tell Renee. Yeah. It's like, woo, yeah. Did you invite them? Yeah. So this looks like some sort of emergency. It's so you may be motivated to try to witness to these people, but don't talk to them. Atheists are very grumpy and bitter, and will lash out at children, and they may try to trick you into neglecting God's word. Wow, this makes it sound like they're, awful, but yeah, that apparently. Now, by the way, it says, let the adults handle them. Are they sending unaccompanied minors into neighborhoods to knock on doors? That's not safe. What's going on? This is a puzzle. I don't know what's the origin of this. That's so bizarre. Yeah, you could just go and convert people. Well, we'll be here. Are there atheists in our community? Oh, absolutely. There are lots of atheists. And here are just a few of the many, many famous ones. We got some philosophers, Bertrand Russell, Jean-Paul Sartre. We have Sigmund Freud. Lots of writers, Isaac Asimov, Gore Vidal, Mark Twain, Kurt Vonnegut. In the entertainment industry, we've got James Cameron, Daniel Radcliffe. Yep, Harry Potter is an atheist, believe it or not. Jodie Foster, Kevin Bacon, Keanu Reeves. Sir Ian McKellen, Gandalf is an atheist. Can you believe it? Gene Wilder, Orson Welles, Keira Knightley, Marilyn Monroe. I did not know that until just a few years ago. Jack Black, and so forth. We've got lots of comedians. George Carlin, no surprise to anyone, right? David Cross, Rodney Dangerfield, Ricky Gervais. Lots of scientists, probably the majority of the folks in the hard sciences. Magicians Penn and Teller. Ronald Reagan's son, Ron Reagan, is an atheist. And in fact, he does commercials for the Freedom from Religion Foundation based in Madison, Wisconsin. And so forth. Musicians, Mickey Dolenz, Billy Joel, Brian Eno, Randy Newman. By the way, Mickey Dolenz, anybody remember Mickey? Oh, there we go. Yeah, drummer for the Monkees, right? He was, yeah, and he sang in that song, I'm a Believer, but he wasn't. Right, so anyway, yeah. So how many non-believers in the U.S.? Well, on polls, when they ask people to identify their religious preference, we have 28%. That's almost 30% of people in the U.S. say none. Okay? So those are the atheist agnostics and nothing in particular. So atheist agnostic, strong, weak atheism right there. Huge percentage. That's almost 30% of people. And then worldwide, one study looking at studies of atheists in various countries estimated that there are anywhere from 450 to 500 million atheists, people who wake up every day and do not have belief in God. So there are plenty of atheists. Folks, it's a huge percentage of society and getting bigger. And one of the few good things coming out of the current political climate is that this is, well, at least I consider it good. It drives people away from religion because they see religion, so the type of religion that's so closely allied to things that people don't like that are going on, that they think they're helping their cause and they're hurting it. Yeah, greatly. So, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I hope it was enlightening, educational, and thank you very much for having me.
Thrilling. Fabulous. I hope those people with that flower will send their kids to me. Wow. Come back and do this for us again sometime. Do a part 2 for us sometime. That was epic. Okay, our closing hymn, guess what? It's a round.
Oh, it's me.
It's right, that's you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Jim Scott set these lyrics to it's a Ukrainian folk song. And so I thought we would sing this today. We're not gonna refer to it as God, but may your life be as a song. We'll allow that. Okay, all rise as you are able. Millie will help this side stay with me in the choir. What we're gonna do is we are going to sing it once in unison and then twice as a round. So it'll be 3 times total. All right, Brenda, at your leisure.
One more time in unison. Let's do it together one more time.
lovely. You may be seated. Isn't that pretty? That's a pretty one. Yeah.
Please join us in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
Thank y'all so much. It is time for our announcements, and our first announcement today is going to be from Melly. And we'd love to hear some closing words from you, my friend.
All right. Well, folks, there's just one more thing I'd like to leave you with. And as you well know, we live in very difficult times, and the news is often so bad. I know lots of people that can hardly bring themselves to get informed anymore. They just can't take it. And in fact, some news channels of a more progressive stance have seen viewership drop dramatically. People just have kind of given up looking at the news because it's all bad. And, well, it's going to probably get even worse. So how can we bear such sorrow and tragedy? Well, I want to tell you something. When I was 20 years old, I worked at a television station, an ABC affiliate. I was in the TV news department, and I would edit and run the videotape, at that time videotape, for 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news broadcasts. And I was well aware of how bad things were back then. But I can tell you this, there was a whole lot of news that the general public never got to see. I would see the closed circuit feed that was coming from the national office to the ABC affiliates. And there were lots of news that they just couldn't show because they didn't have time. That's true even today when we have news 24/7. There's just more news than people can put on the air and on websites and so forth. So the really bad news is the news that you get to see. It gets on there because it's bad, and that gets people's eyes glued to the screen. But that's not all the news. There's lots of good news. Every day there are millions of instances of love, of caring, of giving, of helping that will not ever make it into the news. And more than could fit in any 24/7 broadcast in all of the news channels. That's how much good stuff is happening every day. So think of those cases when things look very bleak. Those people, of that love, of that positivity. Think of loved ones, safe spaces. Think of the UU community. And remember that the world still has plenty of good in it, even if you don't see it in the news. Thank you.
Dear ones, go in peace, and we'll see you next week.